Good evening, everybody.
Yo, yo.
We're,
What's
we're
up?
here,
What's up?
we're here, and we're so glad that you all decided to join with us as we're waiting for individuals to come in. Please go ahead, hit that like button, also hit that share button for us. We got some great content tonight to go over and to discuss with you all. We really need your dialogue. We need your participation in the comment section. The show really takes off as you are expressing what is on your heart. And I know if your heart feels like mine, it's a bit heavy right now when it's full. And we want to create a safe place for you all to share what's on your heart. Let's go around the room. Let's introduce ourselves, beginning with the man in the middle.
Yo, everybody. This is your boy, G.O., George Flurman, here in Miami, Florida. And I'm just here kicking it 316 style. And we just want to welcome you all to our show tonight. We want to really go down deep into the weeds and hopefully pull out some and extrapolate some principles that'll let us have a better tomorrow. As Croc Kick said it, our hearts are heavy. We're dealing with some real issues in this world. This is not something that you're reading in the book. History is happening right before our own eyes, and so we want to talk about that today. We thank you for coming out, and we hope that the energy level today, Croc, will be on point.
Yes, sir. You always say keep the same energy. So, man, we're gonna keep that energy going tonight, man.
Yep.
It's your dad, aka AJ, aka Anthony, man, here in beautiful Orlando, Florida. After a long day. First of all, I just want to give a shout out to Retro College for the dope HBCOU.
I like it.
Man, we were there when it was OC, but we'll embrace OU. But anyways, happy to be here with my friends, with my homies, with my bros. Just so we can kick it and talk a little
All right. And I'm Croc Kicks. I'm here, Huntsville, Alabama, and we're ready to kick it. So just so you all know, we love the Lord and we like kicks. We like sneakers, and sneakers is the avenue or the vehicle we use to talk about information and topics that are going on. And right now, social justice is really screaming at us, and so that's the topic that we will discuss. But before we get to the it factor, we want to kick it for a little bit. And so there's a little bit of shoe news that we want to put before you. And we're going to try and get through this expeditiously so we can get to the heart of the show. We want to first recap on last week. We told you all about the Ben and Jerry's, right? These shoes, these shoes, man. We said we would not rock them, but we would sure enough
Bro,
flip them.
I shot my
bit.
shot. I tried to.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
think
I
I
tried
think we
to.
all gave it. I think y'all gave it a little try. I think we did so hesitantly, knowing that we're gonna need to getting our hopes up. But I
Bro,
think we
like
kind of
legit.
overstepped it.
Like the moment that, and a lot of people, and I know you're gonna get into this in a little bit, Croc, but a lot of people, they're not buying this to rock it. They're buying it to resell it. And bro, it was hard to
The
try to get in.
the market is there for that resale. We said it was going to be something that you could flip. What is that price hitting at now, Ted?
It's going right now. It's going right now. Stock at $1,600. So this was a
Wow.
$100 shoe,
$100.
$100 retail. Now going for 1,600. So I mean, you see why people is going out there. Man, that's hey, for some people, man, if you ain't got no job, you buy the shoe for $100, man. You can pay a couple of bills. You know what I'm saying? If you get two pairs, that's
Hang in there, y'all who are not sneakerheads. Hang in there. We got to get through this and we get to the heart of the show. We get to the it factor. The Flint 13s dropped. And if you're like myself, I'm looking for a pair. They are sold out. These Flint 13s, I forget the last time the shoe was released, but it had been a while. I have been waiting for this shoe to drop. Remember, I said I wasn't going to go for them. I had made some purchases and I was on a timeout, but wifey gave me the green light. So
Green
I'm
light.
sitting around. I'm sitting around looking for this shoe to resurface. It hasn't resurfaced quite as often as I would have liked it to. But I do want to give you all just a little information about restocks. All right, so if you're like us, we didn't get this shoe for various reasons. There will be opportunity as these various sneaker companies restock, right? And so what you want to do is you want to download the J23 app. Now you do have to pay for this app. But what this app is going to do is a one-time purchase. What this app is going to do, whenever a shoe restocks, it's going to give you a notification. Make sure your notifications are on, and you'll get that notification. And make it quick. Make it quick. So shout out J23.
Yeah, that little $1.99 fee is worth it, man. So everyone takes important that you come to the $1.99. I mean, they're not sponsoring us or anything. So we just trying to help y'all out.
Yes, so definitely, it's not too much to ask, and I mean, honestly, you will reap the benefits of it in terms of all of the services. Shay, can you just go into the services real quick? I was really amazed to see how from this one app it opens up the avenue to different stores, and that literally they push to you that information to your cell phone, to your smart device, and you're able to see in real time when things are coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much summed it up. It's an amazing app. I mean, it's so good. It's worth the $2. And it's pretty much somebody sits around and I don't know how they find out, when they find out, but as soon as the shoe hits the market, they send that notification. You tap the notification. It sends you directly to the link to purchase the shoe. You select your size, get your credit card information ready, plug it in, and it's first come, first serve. It's not a guarantee you're going to hit now.
Yeah,
But it's first come, first serve. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. We got momentum. We got pace going. And let's talk about the Jordan 6 Airs that are getting ready to drop.
Oh yeah, those are coming out this week. And man, like we said before, I'm not a white shoe fan,
Oh,
but these are clean. These are clean, nice summertime, springtime shoe. Pull them out, you rock them with some jean shorts. I mean, you can really wear them with anything, man.
listen, man,
It's a beautiful shoe,
those are
man. I
dope.
think
I don't
it's
care what you say. Those are
worth
dope.
it.
Those are
What you
dope,
said?
AJ. And for all of us who believe we're Sabbath keepers, get yourself a plug, or at least buy resale. You'll pay a little bit more, but at least you would know that's how most of us get our shoes by not having to go purchase those during the Sabbath. So I know some of y'all are looking at those shoes saying, "Well, they come out on the Saturdays." Well, as a Sabbath keeper, you can get those without going through that process of buying it on the Sabbath.
All right, all right, all right. We were on a show this weekend. AJ, can you bring us up on that?
Yeah, man. So our homie, brother from the Root, man, XL Xavier Lewis, man, has this wonderful show on Saturdays at 3 p.m. called Throwback Praise, man. And this week we kicked it off with I believe two people for the union with talking about current day events and what's going on in society. And then they started not robbery to bring Kicking It 316 on there. So we had a good time just talking about once again about current events, man, and just what's going on. It's a great show. I definitely recommend it,
Shout
man.
out.
Xavier's doing he has great guests on there, man. We had a good time. He tried to talk a little bit about sneakers and we're putting sneakers to his ear like he know what he's talking about. So we got to bring him on the show to
Some
see if he really
Timberlands as we was rocking some Tims.
So we finished the kicking part of the show, and now we're getting ready to dive into the it factor, and the it is why you're here. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, um, Karen Foster. She also has a podcast that she's doing a Zoom call for women empowerment. And she asked me if on our last show, if we discussed Breonna Taylor. And I told her, yeah, we did. She came up at the end of our show. And then she began to share with me, I guess, the conviction that's on her heart, and her one of her passions is for the black women who have faced police brutality, and yet we don't know their names, right? I don't know why it is. And as I surveyed, and took a deep look internally at myself and what we're doing here, I know on a personal level, I signed her petition. I also made some phone calls. But I'm asking myself, why was she last on our show? And perhaps it was because of what was new on the news. But I had to ask that question internally, and then I asked myself, outside of Sandra Bland, like, who else do I know?
Yeah.
Right. And so this segment of the show, we want to dedicate to our sisters, our mothers, our wives, the black women who are
And
going
queens.
through this with us. And we want to entitle this segment Tears Cried in the Dark. Tears Cried in the Dark. So let's dive into this subject, y'all, and also Breonna Taylor, right? Let's open this up and let's have a little dialogue.
Yeah.
Man, I I think if you look through the history of time, what they had to endure, you think about from slavery, where they had to go from trying to take care of their families that they formed in captivity to taking care of the master's kids,
Hmm.
breastfeeding the woman's
My
child,
God.
and then being raped by that same master, and then producing these mulatto children who are then hated because the wife of the master don't like them because she knows where they come from, and then
Hmm.
the people that are out in the fields don't like them because they don't look like them, and the black woman had to endure that for years,
Centuries.
and
Hmm.
now, I mean, to today's date, man, I mean, the black woman has been the backbone of society, not just of the black family, but of society. Period. If you think that on average, a woman makes 81 cents to a dollar, every man makes. A black woman probably making 70 cents or less to a dollar what a black what a man makes. So I think those tears cried in the dark is serious.
It is. And I think that the reason why you see a lot of our black women being um, so active in these protests is because of those tears shed in the dark. But not only that, but if you look at just from a political perspective, the black woman has served to hold down America for years in terms of their voting power, right? If you look at the trend of how they vote, and you look at how where the priorities are, you will see that they have been doing America as a country and African Americans as a whole a great service. And so I think they just tired of seeing their babies shut down in the streets,
Hmm.
and in a very real sense, dealing with uh, we say tears in the dark because sometimes they're the forgotten person.
Yeah.
Like literally, we're talking about police brutality, we're talking about abuse of power, unlawful use of force, or whatever the case is, and we're talking about someone who is sleeping. Like, bro, I heard it all. We can't buy Skittles anymore. We can't go to the corner store anymore. We can't drive anymore. Now you can't even sleep anymore, right? And so that is what the black woman has had to endure. On one hand, they have to be there mentally and emotionally for the black man, but at the same time, I think it's good that we would highlight them today, and to speak about the sacrifices that they've made, and to also highlight the fact that they have been holding us down for forever. They are our black queen, to use the words of my boy Tupac, Black Queen Mama. Yes, so definitely that's
Yes,
something
sir.
we should talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to, man, when I think about mothers' love and the fact that they're left to piece back the broken pieces,
Mm-hmm.
to keep the families together, and for a moment, I mean, I'm grateful for the story, the reality of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
and the role that his mother played in being there in his darkest hours. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she was there for her son when he needed her most.
Mm-hmm.
And man, as I heard, just switching over for a second, as I heard George, right, Floyd, just cry out for his mother,
Yeah.
right, pierced my heart. And and we see the importance of our mothers, right? Of the women in our lives, that this man defines strength as he's breathing his last breath. Like, he calls for his mother. And so we didn't want another episode to go by, and we did not take time to highlight the black women who were there to pick up the pieces, like at Trayvon Martin's mother, and all the mothers of those who were gunned down, and also the women who were victim to police brutality. And let's look at this, rehash or review the Breonna Taylor case. We know she was peacefully sleeping.
Yeah.
The police of Louisville were executing a no-knock warrant, which literally means that they did not have to knock. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. They kick in the door. Now, Breonna's, they don't identify themselves, and they have plain clothes on. And I mean, we talked about this, just the value of life. Would those officers have come into an apartment complex or a condominium where their relatives were living?
A gated community? No, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Bro, they wouldn't do that. I mean, to be honest with you, we God has blessed us to live in those places, and they wouldn't do that, right? And so I just think that there's just, and I've been saying this for a while. I think on one hand is empathy, but on the other hand is also character. I think the crisis that we're dealing with in America is a character problem, and it starts at the top and it goes all the way down. The moment that you have someone at the top who's leading out and they have a deficiency of character, the moment that you have a deficiency of character, you literally are going to abdicate your role as a leader. And the moment you abdicate your role as a leader, the entire nation falls into chaos. So now he has a deficient character, and as a result, the words that he speaks to a common person who can internalize that, and not only internalize that, but they treat African Americans as though they have no value, that we're thugs, that we are, that we have no worth, we have no respect, that we're just another life. If we're gone, no one will miss us, and that they might protest for 1 or 2 days and then on to the next news cycle. And so, yeah, man.
I want to go back to something that Croc Tips was hitting on about, the women being there in the background. I don't know if y'all saw this week. They released a video of Philando Castile. And see, even now I feel bad because I'm talking about Philando Castile. I don't even know his girlfriend, fiance's name.
My Lord.
But they showed a video of her in the back seat of a car after he'd been shot. In back seat of a cop car with her daughter.
Yeah.
She's crying and she's like, God, please give me a sign that he isn't dead. Please give me a sign. And the daughter's trying to console her. And, the whole time, I mean, like the story was about Philando Castile being shot, being killed. But we don't think about his fiance and his daughter who witnessed it, and then who had to sit there in the back of a cop car not knowing that he had just been killed. All they could do is hope that something was better. And it just brings to my mind, how many times have our black women just sat back there and hoped,
my God,
hope that we come home safe there.
Yeah.
Hope that they are recognized. And just to touch on that, man, it was powerful. It was powerful to see that, and that the only name we know is Philando Castile.
But that story that you tell, AJ, is so common to most of these occurrences. Most oftentimes, when you see these people, I mean, I haven't done the research on it, but oftentimes, the people who are recording these events are women, right? Mm-hmm. Even in this George Floyd, it was a young teenager. You look at. I mean, I've seen countless of footage where the police they're pulling out these men brutally out of their cars, and all the woman can do, that whether it's a fiance or girlfriend or wife, all they can do is beg, cry, and videotape, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you know, emotionally, that does something to you because you're literally helpless. You know, you're talking about the woman who's responsible for birthing humankind, right? Like for birthing babies. That kind of hopelessness, not being able to in that moment, be able to intervene, not to fight, but just intervene to stop. Not being able to do that, that's crazy. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Um, yeah, so and then one of the things about the case that really stuck out to me, man, is just the negligence of this police force department that comes to find out the department already had the person they were looking for
Bro,
in custody by the time this raid
bro,
took place.
bro. Yeah, man. I don't know what to say. AJ, I don't know what you. I don't know. It's just.
So
Yeah.
it begs the question. So why were you there?
Right.
Why were you there?
It
If,
almost feels
if
as if they got some new toys and they wanted to try them out.
Provocation, man.
and then from the
Provocation.
legal standpoint, I'd want to see. I don't know, but I want to see what was it an arrest warrant or was it a search warrant?
Right.
And if it is a search warrant
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking for something, and you know that the perpetrator or the criminal per se, the alleged criminal is in custody, then what's the point of the no knock search warrant?
Yeah.
Why not
Right.
search warrant on the door say, hey, you know, we understand this is a such place. Let us search for, but to do it in the middle of the night, it's just a lot of things questions that can be answered, and they probably won't because we know that this justice system sometimes just is really about justice.
Right. Man. So man, I've gotten text messages, I've gotten phone calls, DMs, comments, from my friends, my female friends, my relatives, my female relatives, asking me how I'm doing, and I just want to just challenge all of us to reach out to our sisters, the women in our lives, and ask them how they are doing. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
about their anxieties, their worries, their fears. Because they're going through a lot too,
Yeah.
and it's time that we really give the women in our lives the time, the consideration, the love that they deserve. Now, just FYI, we did try to have a female on tonight.
Yeah, let them
Um,
know.
yeah,
Let 'em
right, right, right. We're open. We open. We would love to have a softer voice with us, especially with this topic tonight. But the individual we asked was not available, and so we'll be looking to have some other guests on, and we'd love to have a female perspective in our coming shows.
Yeah. So
Let's
before you segue, I just want to make sure that we are responsible and we make sure that you all know that we yell the voice of Breonna Taylor as loud as we yell every other of Ahmaud Arbery, of George Floyd. We have to make sure we say her name loud because she deserves justice. Her,
absolutely.
I know I know we did not see what happened. So George Floyd's, because we saw it, it made it more real for us.
Hmm.
But the point of the matter is, this sister still was murdered, and to date, nobody has been arrested. No accountability has been had. The only person who got arrested was her boyfriend, and thank God he's out. But we got to make sure we keep saying her name.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Say her name. That's a hashtag, and I'm about that. Keeping that same energy, right? Keeping that same energy, because if we just have a conversation here and it doesn't, and we do anything after, it's really for naught, right?
Yeah.
So let's look into some next steps. George, what's something that we can do as far as the next step?
Well, definitely, I think that it's one thing to be angry and to feel this pain, But I think pain that does not motivate you to action is wasted pain, right? And I'm saying that with the utmost respect. I'm not trying to devalue anybody or belittle everyone's anger, but I think that pain that doesn't move you, or anger doesn't move you to do something further, you lose momentum. You lose, to use your word, energy. And so there are a lot of things you can do. One of the first things that I think everyone should do is, when you hear or see these injustices, either start a change.org petition, or go to change.org and sign on to a petition. That's the first thing. Make your voices heard on the streets, but also make your name be heard on paper. Secondly, I would say definitely, to get involved. They say, money talks and everything else walks, right? And so I think that we have to make sure that we research organizations that are at the forefront of the battle, because I don't expect everybody to be at the forefront of the battle, but you can still be conscious. And so as a result, research different organizations that are really authentic and they're doing real work, and support with your dollars. Let your money speak for itself, for you. And then third and lastly is become involved in the political process, right? I'm not just talking about state elections or federal elections, but we're talking about like municipalities, counties. Like, you need to know who's running for your local, who's going to be local judge, who's going to be your local district attorney. You need to be involved in these discussions, even as simple as your city councilman, right? Like, you should be involved, and not only should you be involved, but you should hold those around you, your friends, your cousins, your families, your husbands, accountable. That if you're gonna rock it with me, if you're gonna kick it with me, then you got to be involved in this political matter as well. So I think those are three quick things I can think of the top of my mind. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I want to put it a little further.
Go ahead.
Not only should we be involved by voting, we should be involved by running. We need more representation in
it
these
is.
positions. We need more
Like it.
representation at city council. We need more representation, judges. Like a couple of days, you don't get how much power a judge has in the courtroom.
Bro.
And if you go down the list, looking at your county judges, you probably see less than 3% of them actually look like you.
Yeah.
And people that young minorities are facing on the criminal side. These are people you face on the civil side. I mean, we need representation there. We need representation in the state houses. We need representation at mayorships. I don't care if it's a small town. I have a cousin who's a mayor of a small town in Palm Beach called Mangonia Park. Probably never heard of it before. But he's been mayor of that town for, I don't know, at least 10, maybe 15 years. And it always motivated me that it didn't have to be a big town, but he was active in the small town where he was. We need that type of representation, because when we have that type of representation, then we can affect policy.
Yeah.
We can laws. We can make the changes that we want to see happen.
Yeah.
But if we're only sitting back being Monday morning quarterbacks,
Yeah.
then
Right.
we will never be able to affect the changes that we want to see happen. Because I can vote for John up the road, but is John going to have the same type of
He don't know you.
fear and have the same priorities that I have? So I think we need to not only be involved, but we need to be running for those offices.
And that's good.
I love it.
I like
I
that.
love it.
Do you see that, Mr. Moderator, Croc Kicks? Nikki said something I think is dope. You gonna?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it on the screen. Go ahead.
let's-
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Get involved in your neighborhood watch. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. I think the timing of this is impeccable.
Yeah.
Because when we look back at the story of Ahmaud, right, and the details surrounding that, there was this private Facebook neighborhood watch group, right, where individuals were communicating. And the moment he stepped foot into this neighborhood, he was being watched,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we need in on these neighborhood watch groups,
Yeah.
right? We need to be a part of the conversation. We need to be able to speak and to be advocates for those who are in the community, because not every person that we aren't familiar with is a criminal.
and also
And that goes for black and white.
and also to diffuse. Like I was telling you, I know you and AJ are on. I guess it's called. I forget what the app is called, but is it Next Door or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
I've seen when I lived in Lakeland and before I sold my house, I saw how people on that app literally. I mean, from the moment you crossed into the neighborhood, right? There are sets of eyes on you, and there are people who do nothing more uh, than to try to envision the worst out of people who do not look like them. So I think you're right. As African Americans, Nikki, you're right. We need to be involved in these neighborhood watches so that when we hear these comments, that we can correct them, right? And we can hopefully stop that issue right at the beginning before it gets any further.
And there was a comment that Sabrina made before Nikki's. Use the pain to propel you towards purpose. Use the pain to propel you towards purpose. I think that also is impeccable, very relative, and part of the one of the ways that you can use that pain to propel you is if you keep that same energy. And what I mean by that is if it was your loved one, what would we do?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
If it was my loved one, I would sign every petition out. I would make phone call after phone call, right? I would do all it would take. I would do everything within me to seek justice out. And I
Definitely.
think we have to do the same thing for everybody who is a victim to police brutality and all crimes,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we're talking about this police brutality piece now, but we got to keep that same energy on all fronts, right? So great point, Sabrina. I like that. That's hashtagable. I made that up. Hashtagable. I like that. Use the
Hey, just
pain to propel you towards purpose.
just Stone just made a comment, and I just heard about this today. Was an update on it. He said one of the largest Confederate flags in the world waves in Tampa.
You you,
Fun fact.
you,
Fun
you you
fact.
never
That flag
seen
got
it,
taken down.
AJ?
Yeah, I saw it. That's what I'm saying. But it got taken down last night.
Okay.
Say that again. What happened?
One of the largest Confederate flags
Yeah,
flying
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
world.
yeah,
You know when you drive down, I think it was what
yeah.
275 or I
Yeah,
75.
275 in Tampa.
Yeah,
They took it down. I don't know if looters or somebody took it down last night,
bro.
but
I used to
I'm all
hate
for that.
driving by that thing. Like, but you know what?
I
It's some
hate
it's
oh
someone's private property.
yeah, and I heard that they have guards that's normally there,
Yeah,
and when you take it down, they put it back up, so it's back up again. But just the fact that it came down made me feel good.
we'll talk.
Absolutely. Let's continue, man. And our next subject we wanna do as we're in this it factor is a message that's lost, right? A message that's lost. Protest, civil unrest versus rioting and destruction of property. Let's dive into this, man.
Man, so for me, I think protest is necessary. Protest, without a doubt, is necessary. I think also that sometimes anger, destruction is a language that some people, that's the only language some people understand.
Mm.
And so I found it very, very interesting. I know we're going to get into this a little more later. That 45, I don't like saying his name, but 45th president of the United States has so much
46 minus
strong,
one.
yeah, so many strong words about what's going on now with looting and stuff. But he didn't have a lot to say about George Floyd. I mean, he's made a couple of comments, but he wasn't ready to put out no executive order about police and their brutality.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I think people are still upset that they're so strong and willing to arrest hundreds of Americans, but and I think until there's some progress made, people will continue to be angry and people will continue to riot, and unfortunately, some people continue to loot.
For me, AJ, you make some very good point, but I just, I realize that messaging is key. And messaging is key because a part of the messaging is an offensive attack against. Well, it's two part. It's on one hand, it's defensive because you need to defend your name, your character, right? And then, but it's also offensive because you get people who, no matter what you do, are going to criticize your form of protest, right?
Yeah.
That if you kneel, that's your bunts, your sons of whatever, right? If you march and you peacefully protest and you hold up traffic, you are, you're causing unrest. And then you have the the extremity where you have elements that actually riot. And in those, I think that for me, messaging is key because you don't want to let the fringes dictate your message, right? So I understand the anger, but at the same time, I'm looking at the war that needs to be won. I'm not looking for a battle. I'm looking for a war to be won, right? And so I'm thinking about the message that sometimes gets diluted by the realities of the riots, right? So much so that 46 minus 1 is able to describe what is otherwise a peaceful, right of Americans to protest, and he, in a very real sense, he lumps it all as being unlawful, right? He calls himself the president of law and order, right? And so you can have law and order on one hand, but what about our rights, right? Our rights that should be afforded to each one of us. And so I think that messaging is key. I get it, but I want to make sure that if we do protest and we do exercise our rights, that the message never gets lost, right? And you have people who will look at what you're doing and will utilize the excuse or the crutch of the fringe, to render your message null and void, and that's what I can't have.
Man, and I know we're getting ready to share some of these comments and questions, but I do want to highlight one of Theodore's right now, man. Man,
what up, James?
Where do you think we learn looting, rioting, and burning from? Man, I mean, we know they've been using fire for years and years and years, bombs. We've had entire cities, Black Wall Street burned down in Tulsa. Oklahoma. So absolutely, we didn't invent this. But to be honest with you, we didn't even invent these riots. I mean, as you really open your eyes and you begin to see some of the details, see, everybody got cameras now, right? And I remember somebody said if a picture gives says 1,000 words and a video gives 1,000,000 words, right? We're seeing these random pallets of bricks just left in the middle of downtown. Yeah. Like, there's no construction going on. It's just these bricks being laid around. We're seeing individuals who are clearly not there for the Black Lives Matter movement. They are kicking in windows. Black people are stepping in, telling them to stop. I just saw a video of a young Caucasian guy who broke the window of a police car, took out the police car's AR-15, wow, and shot into the police car.
Bro, that's crazy.
And it was somebody of color that approached him, took the AR from him, unloaded it, and neutralized the situation.
I wouldn't have done that, bro.
We're seeing this all around the U.S. where individuals are really starting the chaos. They ain't black.
Can I say this? I've witnessed it for myself, and so I was trying to be politically correct, but I guess gloves are off now. Like, real talk, like, you've got individuals who infiltrate, and as these governors and mayors are saying, for the most part, I mean, you're talking about crowds of 2,000s, 3,000 people marching, and then you have about 10 people who are riling up the crowd. Like I was marching yesterday. We were down at Bayfront, walking down Biscayne, and probably every 30 minutes you had about one or two kids, and these are young kids who would begin, and I think they're being paid by someone else to do this, but they would run. They would run, and as they ran, mass people began to run after, like with them, right? And so we have people who come in and they just want to be disruptors. They want to turn something that is purposeful, that has a message, and turn that thing chaotic. But I'm glad that late as of today and as of yesterday, that the protesters are now fighting back. They're not letting anybody hijack the messaging behind what we're doing. Right? We're not looting. We're not trying to get the latest J's from Shoe Palace or was it the Flight Club. We're not breaking it. No, we're not doing that. We are here to make real systematic change.
Yeah, and I think too that it's important that we don't let the bad apples, the agitators, destroy the message. I think it's imperative that we continue to march, we continue to protest, we continue to let people know that we are here, we
Yeah.
are fed, we are tired, and enough is enough. And at the same time, we deal with those who are we don't join in with them, but we deal with those who are trying to take away from our message by taking it to another place we aren't trying to go. I don't think we can let this stop us from protesting, stop us from exercising our First Amendment right. So we continue to do what we got to do, while at the same time dealing with the detractors.
Yeah.
I agree. We cannot stop the arrest of the one officer happened because we applied pressure,
Yeah.
right? And if and I believe it was Nikki. She said people are outraged that buildings are being burnt down, but they're not outraged that a man's life was taken from him on pretty much live television, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't cause outrage, right?
Well, but can I say this, moderator, real quick? I think that, like, I'm no expert, but I do think that something is happening now that's never happened before. I mean, you can see now that the conscience of other folk, when I say other folk, people who are not African American, are being so bothered that they too now are mobilizing with us in this fight against unlawful or unjust police brutality.
Oh, that's a fact. I've seen more of my Hispanic and white associates and friends post more
Mm-hmm.
stuff out more than me, and it's just refreshing
Mm-hmm.
to see that people are I won't say, well, yeah, a lot of people are finally getting it,
You get it?
seeing that, man, what these people been talking about is real,
It's
even
real.
though I don't experience it. Is real. I can't come to your house and sit at your table and say we're friends, but then don't care about your plight.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's been refreshing to see those who are sincere about about how they feel about it. I've seen them going in. I, let's do it, because I mean, it's coming from a different person. So I'm hoping that maybe more people will hear it, take it in, and then do something with it.
And,
Yeah.
and I gotta take this time because I've seen the same thing. My friends, some of my friends that I grew up with who aren't black but are speaking out, reposting, retweeting, even reached out to me and checked up on me and to see how I was doing. It means a lot, because man, when these things go on, you're kind of looking around like who can you trust,
Yo.
right? And And I know it's uncomfortable. Let's be honest. It can't be comfortable for somebody of a different race or a different color to speak to this issue. It's not comfortable for everybody. There are times, even as a pastor, where it's not comfortable. I don't know what to say. It's not comfortable for me to call when X, Y, and Z happen to your child or to you as a person, right? And there are times when I've even kind of strayed away from my responsibility, and I've had to go back and apologize and just say, listen, I didn't know what to say, right? And so if that can happen to me, and I'm a minister of the gospel, then it can happen to them too. Well, I just want to declare, just say something.
Say something.
Yeah. Theo puts this stat that I read today that I thought was crazy. I'm going to put it up again. We go ahead and read it. You want to read it?
Mike Vick spent more time in jail than perpetrators of the last 300 plus black killings.
That's a stat. That is stat. I've seen it, and I forget who was reporting on it. Theo, give us the I guess the source for that. But basically, that thing had me startled. Like, yo, that's crazy. Someone that did that to a dog, right, spent more time in. So basically, we're saying that in America, dogs get treated better than the black man.
Oh yeah.
My God.
Oh yeah.
Nate Lyles, our colleague, preacher of righteousness, says this. He says people are. Well, what I wanted to read. I'm sorry. Nate, you had something that was deep. Did you erase it?
No, that one's good too.
Okay, yeah.
I like that one.
All right, let's read it. I'm sorry. Go ahead and read it, AJ.
That the answer doesn't rest on the shoulders of the oppressed, but on those in the majority, and that is a fact because you can't just sit back and wait. And if you're in the majority or you're on the side of the oppressor, you can't look at the oppressor and be like, when y'all get through, and not doing anything to help. If you are sincere, what you're saying. Because if you have the ability to make a change, you can't just sit back and say, okay, yeah, they're good. No, I need to make sure that I am standing up and speaking up too. I can't be silent and think that my silence is me helping out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's continue to press. Let's continue to press. Man, as I began to read the news, man, let's talk about some of these remarks that oh boy, right? Capitol Hill.
47 minus 2.
I think the first two, what do you say, 2 Corinthians?
There's 2 Corinthians, yeah.
I think the first thing he said that was troubling was when the looting starts, the shooting starts, something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
And now we see that he's calling on governors to take a strong stance and pass down stiff and long sentences to these protesters, man. And it blows my mind that you're calling for long sentences for rioters, but you ain't calling for long sentences for police who have engaged in brutality and who have murdered somebody on film.
He ain't even calling for them to be arrested. Not even long sentences. He hasn't made a statement yet that says that these cops that are excessively using their force, oppressing, killing, murdering, harassing minorities need to be arrested. He has not made that statement not once. And we know he won't because he panders. He does it for TV, for his followers, for those who worship him. That's what he does this stuff for. I mean, not only has he talked about stiffer sentences for rioters, but now he's talking about governors should enlist the help of the military if rioters keep going. So now you're waging war against
Americans. Yeah.
You'd rather wage war against Americans than to arrest police officers.
Listen, as I said before, the moment you lose your moral compass, when you have exhibited over and over a deficiency of character, like you literally have, as a leader, you have abdicated your authority. And so someone said it best. I think it was Miss Lance Bottom, mayor of Atlanta. He shouldn't talk. Like we're not asking you to make us feel better. Just say nothing. In times like these, the country, usually the nation turns to the commander in chief, looking for words of comfort, but we know that that's not something that we're going to get. And so there comes a time where if help is not coming from up there, then the help in terms of leadership of this country, then that the solution must be with us. And this goes back to, again, those steps that we outlined about how to move forward, right? Mobilizing, signing petitions, marching, and then being involved in local elections, because this can never happen again. We should never be in a situation where the leader of our nation is morally bankrupt and has a deficiency of character.
Look, let's get into how morally bankrupt he is in this situation. The fact that he goes and does his press conference today, calls himself the law and order president, when we know he doesn't believe in the law and order because he thinks the FBI is trash and he respects nothing the FBI says. But the fact that he goes and does that press conference, and then so he can walk over to the St. John's Church, he has peaceful protesters,
Bro,
that are there, and he has the military hit them
My
with
God.
tear gas and stuff. Not so he can go in the church, not so he can go and pay respects to anybody.
that's so we can pray.
So he can get there with the Bible in his hand and then takes pictures. That's what you call morally bankrupt.
My God.
Morally bankrupt.
Strike him, Lord.
Hey, and by no way am I making a comparison, but you know who else had a Bible in his hand? Adolf Hitler, right? And so I'm not comparing the two, but having a Bible,
Why can't you?
and having a Bible does not mean that you're Christian. A Bible that's not used, is not internalized, is nothing more than a book stopper or a placeholder for your desk. I don't subscribe, and to be honest with you, I felt offended as a Christian, and in fact, AJ, I just sent y'all a text. The Archbishop of the church is incensed that his church is utilized as a photo op by 48-3, and so we've got we've got to call an ace an ace when we a spade when we see it. Literally, this
He ain't even an ace of spades.
no,
bro.
he's a small joker,
A
the
three-
big joker.
No, 3 o'clock.
No, what we take out? Two a club and two a heart.
He's a two.
Right? Listen, man, the fact that the presidential his daily schedule is public record. I would give anybody $500 right now if they go and find on that schedule where he been to church more 3 times since he been president.
You're not gonna
Yeah, I
find it.
doubt it.
With the Bible in his hand,
He
standing.
wasn't even. He couldn't even hold a joint right. It just didn't even look normal. All right,
Yo, I'm gonna leave it at that, man.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. It's
49
crazy.
minus 4.
Come on,
Right.
hey, I'm looking beyond. I'm looking beyond 2020 now. I'm looking at elections like 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. 49 minus 4. Come on now.
And I get it, man. Like, you rich, you got bread, you got money, the taxes is real. So I get the desire to vote Republican because of the taxes and all of that. I kind of get it, man. But this is ridiculous. Look at where the country is now underneath his leadership, right? We were coming out of a time of peace, a wanting for peace, and listen, I'm not gonna say Obama did everything right, man. There's a lot that he did. He could have done better, man.
Yeah.
I was disgusted at the whole Flint situation in the water, man. That thing really broke my heart, man. I felt like he could have done more when it came to prosecuting and using the DOJ to really make a hardline stance against some of these police brutality cases. He could have done more, man. But when we look at the climate, it was a more loving climate than now. This is ridiculous. Hate is really driving
Bro, it's crazy.
Society right now.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I like. Can I just keep it 100? Like, my wife didn't even want me to go to this protest.
Bro, I didn't want you to.
Y'all didn't want me to go to this protest because you never know what could happen. Like literally, you have people who are so hateful that they would disguise themselves as protesters just to cause mayhem. Mayhem. You know what I mean? And so yeah, man, this is where we're living in. This is where we're living
And
in.
that coming from people who we were at Trayvon Martin's
Yeah.
rally. We were right
Yeah.
there in the thick of things, man.
Yeah.
But let's segue to one of our last topic for this evening.
It's deep.
And I guess we can couple it into two: silence from the church about Floyd, but in particular, our audience. Do you expect your faith leaders to be proactive in social justice? I mean, just go ahead. If you agree, just go ahead and hit the thumbs up, right? If you think that your faith leaders should be proactive in social justice, and let's dive into this. What do you say, Ted?
Man, if you're a faith leader and you're not active in social justice, then I'll say you're not a Christian.
My God.
I'll say just like that. You're not a Christian. So claim some other person that you follow, but you're definitely not a Christian. Bible
My
says,
God.
whatever you do unto the least of these,
You've done it unto me.
And to see people who, let's say, of your same faith, or we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. How can I sit silently while my brothers and sisters are being oppressed? How can I sit silently while my brothers and sisters are asking for me to help? How can I sit silent when those same brothers and sisters contribute money towards my salary? I can say some things that y'all can't, but how can I sit silently when these people that I see go to worship every week just like me? Go to worship every week just like me, and I don't say anything about their suffering. You are not a Christian.
Yeah.
Justin is quoting JB the second. We make a lot of official statement, but no official actions, and that thing hit home. But you know what? I think again, if you don't see that leadership from the top, then at the grassroots level, we have to mobilize. I'm not waiting on no general conference president. I'm not waiting on a division president. I'm not waiting on my, nothing. I know that as a faith leader, as a follower of Jesus Christ, if you look at the prophets, you can't, we're a church that believes in prophecies, but if you look at the prophets, the majority of the major prophets, they dealt with justice, right? So there's a part of the prophetic work that is not only foretelling, but it's also forthtelling, right? So we need to speak truth to power, and we need to, like you say, to make sure that even the least of those that we are able to minister to their needs, and until their needs are met, then we should not feel comfortable in our own shoes.
I think I agree, and I think when something like this happens, you have to audible. I don't care if you're in the middle of a sermon series. I don't care what is on the agenda. You got to audible. And you have to speak to it, and then you have to do something about it. You have to.
Actions.
I mean, literally, like Ted said, you are not a Christian if you don't. Because, same energy we talking about, right?
Yeah.
This person was made in the image of God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're going to be silent? A child, you allow a child of God to, and here goes the problem. Here lies the problem, because they don't view him as a child of God.
Can I push it? Can I push it a little further?
Please.
And I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but in my context, I'm in Florida. You pastored in Florida. AJ pastored in Florida, and you know that the black church in Florida is not necessarily the African American church. You know what I mean? And so we are pastoring.
Careful now.
I'm being very careful. We're pastoring individuals who are not indigenous to America, and for the most part, their freedom goes back as far as they can remember. They didn't have that 400 years of slavery and oppression. They didn't have to go through Jim Crow and the civil rights, right? And so sometimes as you pastor these individuals, there's a disconnect because you're here in America, but you don't. You're here in America. You have the complexion of an African American, right? But you don't. But there's a disconnect in terms of your ability to feel the pain. And one thing that we say to each other all the time, you might not think you're African American or black, but sooner or later you're going to get that wake up call. I don't want to say what I usually say, but you don't get that you don't get that wake up call, and I think that if we could just be more empathetic to one another's plight, whether you're from Haiti or Jamaica or from Trinidad or from right here in Miami, Florida, that we would participate in these marches, because you may not be in the streets, but your son might, your nephew might, and at the end of the day, they don't ask you which island you come from. They're gonna see you as African American and treat you as such, and so.
I really start to wonder how much of it is choice, because I've never, thank God, I've never been raped before.
Mm.
I never had anybody in my family close to me that I know of that's been raped before.
Mm.
But if I hear about somebody being raped, then I can have empathy for what they went through,
Mm-hmm.
and I can want the person that raped them to come to be brought to justice. So some of these people who call themselves Christians, but even empathize with the plight of somebody called their brother or their sister, I really wonder if it's a choice.
Mm.
Cognitive dissonance. Am I choosing to ignore what you're going through because I'm comfortable and it doesn't bother me?
That's what Nikki's saying. It's pure ignorance. It's pure ignorance, because your comfort has nothing to do with your history. Because the truth be told, even though we're still feeling the effects of racism in America, to a certain degree, financially speaking, the African American is doing much better than we have ever had in the past, right? In terms of being able to have access to education, to be able to be competitive in the workforce, right? So, but I think that innate in us, there is always a possibility that as you move up the rung or the ladder of success, that you forget your humble beginnings. And I think that there are people who come here to America, right? And they forget from whence they've come from, and they forget their humble beginning, and they may arrive here and see themselves ahead of someone else who's been here their whole life, and cast judgment on that person. And I think that that's crazy. And I know that's not what we're supposed to be discussing tonight.
Well,
that might be a discussion for another time. But
nah,
I mean,
it's relative.
Yeah.
It's relative, and I just want to say though, it, instead of us, because I don't want us to point the finger at each other in this.
Yeah.
Because from the very beginning we were pinned against each other.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina's saying it right now. Sabrina's saying
So,
the colorism, light skin
correct.
versus dark skin. Go ahead.
Where did that come from? Field nigga, house nigga, right?
Yeah.
And from there, and then how the family was just dismantled.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine you're a man, and your master is sleeping with your wife.
Yeah.
And nothing you can do about it.
There's nothing you can do about it, right?
Yeah.
Just strips you all
Dignity.
of your dignity, right? And so we've been pinned against each other from the very beginning, and what we have done is we've just continued that process.
Dog, can we pause? You said something here that just, and as you said that, what flashed to my mind? 51 minus, where we at? -6, right? As he literally deployed the National Guards and DC police to push back that crowd that was peacefully protesting, right? Can you imagine the inhumaneness of that whole situation? How these individuals who knew that curfew was not for another hour, that they were behind barricades, that They would do nothing at all. For them to get tear gas, how crazy is that? And then, whether you like it or not, these military personnel, they're not political. They're just soldiers,
Following
and,
orders.
and following orders. Can you imagine the inner struggle that someone has to must be feeling that they're asked to tear gas someone who's just exercising their right? This just so he can take a photo op? It's
That's it.
demonic.
Yep. Facts.
Crazy.
Man, let's transition. Let's have some closing thoughts, man, and I want to give some shout outs, and then we'll highlight a kick.
Are we doing that today again?
We're doing that. This is what we do.
Y'all,
Man, closing.
y'all gonna get me
thoughts.
kicked
So
out my house.
I saw this earlier about when we're talking about turning your pain into purpose. So I think that, and I like this. I didn't share it earlier, but I want to share it on here. That some of the things we need to do is ask for or demand immediately. That immediately, all three officers who aided the cop in killing George Floyd. Number two, we need to demand that they pass new police brutality laws in all 50 states. Number three, we need to seek for reform of criminal justice laws to end discrimination of mass, discrimination of mass incarceration. And then we need to reform how police are trained. Reform how police are trained, where they need to be trained and demand that they are first taught de-escalation methods. They need to be trained for longer than however long they're going now, because if it takes me 3 years to get a law degree, I don't think it's right that a cop be able to have a gun and have so much authority after 6 months. I just think there's a disconnect there. So I think these are some of the things that, and I saw this earlier. I don't know who the thing was, but I like this, and I think these are some of the things that we should demand. And if we keep saying it over and again, and then we do what we talk about not just voting, but getting the officers that can affect these changes. And these are some changes that can happen. But until we're willing to do those things to affect change.
You were breaking up down the stretch. So I'm not sure if you want to say what you said again, like the last 10 seconds.
Well, I'm just saying, just make sure that we are part